Steve Harvey was 12 when he wrote, "I will be on TV." His teacher tore it in half. He taped the promise back together and read it every day. Years later, he mailed her a television every Christmas. Before that victory, he slept in a car for 3 years, then turned an Apollo shot into a career. And when the whole world replayed his Miss Universe mistake, he returned to the same stage the next year. This is the man who turns humiliation into fuel. Let's open the story behind the smile. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. See how Steve Harvey turned a ripped classroom note into record-breaking ratings. Steve Harvey's story doesn't open on a stage. It opens at a desk. A stuttering kid in a crowded classroom, fingers tight on a pencil, trying to make words behave. Cleveland noise outside, chalk dust in the air. A teacher says, "Write what you'll be." Steve doesn't hedge. He writes a line that sounds bigger than his voice. "I will be on television." Silence first, then the snickers, then the verdict. The paper tears. Not a gentle fold, a rip that sticks in your ear. "Be realistic," someone says. The halves land in front of him like proof he asked for too much. He takes them home anyway. At the kitchen table, his mother listens, his father doesn't. He decides, tape it. Put it where you can't avoid it, morning and night, so Steve does. The sentence goes on the wall. The wall becomes a mirror. Every day he reads it back to himself, not a wish, a commitment. Life offers no special effects. Shoes are patched, dinner is thin, the stutter trips him daily. He practices in the hallway, shaping consonants until they fit. He learns to hold eye contact when a syllable stalls. He figures out a trick. Slow the start, speed the finish, laugh first at the stumble, steal the room's power. The kid is training and nobody knows it. At school, he's the quiet one. At home, he's the stubborn one. The promise hardens. He watches TV with a different posture, taking notes without a notebook. How do hosts breathe? Where do they pause? Why does one joke hit and another die? He studies rhythm like some kids study jump shots. The world he lives in says, pick something smaller. He refuses. He keeps the line on the wall even when the tape curls. He keeps reading it even when it hurts. He keeps going even when the only applause is from his own heartbeat after a clean sentence. One more detail people miss, he learns to turn humiliation into material, not misery. He files the laugh, he files the rip, he files the teacher's look, not to get even, to get better. To have ammo for the day he needs a story that lands in 10 seconds and lives forever. Years later, they rename his old block. A sign goes up, Steve Harvey Way. That moment gets headlines. This moment, the ripped page on the wall, built the engine. Because that single line didn't just predict his future. It programmed his routine. It taught him discipline before the checks, stamina before the stage, and edge before opportunity. He didn't outgrow the stutter by magic. He outworked it. He didn't silence the doubt, he outran it. And that's why the next part matters, but that wasn't the whole story, because the path from a taped sentence to a live microphone runs through a car seat, a cooler for a fridge, and 3 winters that refuse to end. Open mic nights don't wait for you to be ready. They hand you a microphone and a room that judges in seconds. Steve walked up because a friend wouldn't stop pushing. He had one premise, 2 tags, and a prayer that his breath would cooperate. The first line staggered. He caught it. The second line snapped. The third landed clean and loud. Laughter came in a wave he could feel in his ribs. The host peeled off a 50 like it was a medal. Steve didn't just take the money, he took a new identity. By sunrise, he wasn't asking, should I do this? He was asking, where's the next stage? The answer was, anywhere with lights. Bowling alleys, back rooms, bars where televisions fought his timing. He learned to tune out clinking glass and baseball play-by-play and still make a punchline hit. The checks didn't match the effort. He drove farther, slept shorter, ate cheaper. When the numbers didn't add up, the car became the apartment. Seat back, hoodies layered, windows cracked an inch so the glass wouldn't fog and advertise the truth. You get good at little things when you live in a car. which gas stations keep the bathroom key on a lanyard, which rec centers have early lap swim hours and look the other way if you shower a bit too long, which church lots are quiet after 10 p.m. He kept a gym bag ready. Towel, soap, notebook, he wrote everywhere. On napkins, flyers, program backs. He learned to capture a line in 6 words because long sentences drift away when you're balancing a pen on a steering wheel. He studied the craft like a trade. Tighten setups, front-load clarity. Never let a tag be longer than the laugh it earns. He recorded his sets on a cheap tape recorder and forced himself to listen. Count the dead air. Mark the flinch before a stutter. Replace the word that keeps snagging on the tongue. He didn't erase the stutter. He weaponized it. Pause as fuse. Release as blast. Crowds taught him patience. They also taught him speed. Drunk, sober, polite, hostile. He built an opener for each. A 10-second reset line when the room drifted. A clean pivot when a bit stalled. A closer that could land even if the bartender dropped a tray in his last sentence. He learned the unglamorous math of laughter. 3 solid jokes per minute means the audience forgives a stumble. 5 means they forget it happened. Loneliness stayed loud. He quieted it with routine. Mornings, write ideas until the page looks full, cross out half, rebuild the best third. Afternoons, hunt stage time, leave voicemails, call back within the hour. Nights, perform, then stay to shake hands. A booker who remembers your name remembers your hustle. He tracked the miles in grease pencil on the windshield edge. He tracked progress in how quickly a room went from arms crossed to shoulders down. The lowest point didn't look dramatic. No fight, no storm, just a parking lot him and a payphone. He was ready to call it. To admit it was a good try and go find steady hours. Habit saved him. Before calling anyone, he checked the machine. 2 messages blinked. 2 gigs offering cash that finally looked like a tiny bridge rather than a wall. He took it as a sign, but he treated it like a schedule. Book the ticket, pack the bag, get to New York. He wasn't alone the whole way. A couple who saw the grind extended something rarer than sympathy. Terms. Real work, real trust. Pay me when you can. He did with interest and with public thanks whenever he got the chance. Those small lifelines didn't remove the weight. They gave him leverage to lift it. 3 winters passed like one long week. The car smelled like coffee and determination. The notebook filled with crossed-out beginnings and underlined endings. The act edged from raw to reliable. He had 10 minutes you could set your watch to. Then 20. Then enough for a headliner to call him back next month. The grind did what it always does when you don't walk away. Turned maybe into ready. He arrived in New York with a bag, a jacket that wasn't warm enough, and timing that finally was. The city didn't promise him anything. It gave him a line to stand in and a stage to earn. He'd learned how to do both. New York stripped excuses. The line outside the Apollo wasn't for beginners. It was for believers willing to get booed off if they weren't sharp. Steve had 10 minutes he trusted and a face that said he'd earn them. The curtain felt heavier than fabric. The band quieted. The room tested him with that famous, unforgiving silence, and then cracked. Not all at once, in beats. A quick smile on the left balcony, a laugh up front, a shout from the back that meant keep going. When he walked off, it wasn't relief he felt, it was proof. The timing that he built in parking lots worked under real lights. The bookings changed after that. Weekends turned into runs. Flyers put his name higher. He didn't arrive, he compounded. Clubs gave way to theaters. The act thickened. More life in the stories, more edge in the turns, tighter landings. He learned to stretch a bit without letting it sag, to leave one more laugh on the table so the audience leaned forward with him. Television noticed, first the guest slots and late-night chair, then sitcom doors. Me and the Boys gave him a living room to anchor, a dad with timing, and an eye roll that doubled as a punchline. The Steve Harvey Show turned that into a rhythm. banter that felt like jazz, jokes that bounced and came back clean. On set, he worked like he was still broke. Table reads early, rewrites at lunch, beats tested in front of the crew to hear where the air got thin. He carried the taped sentence in his head and protected the standard it required. Then came the arenas. Kings of Comedy wasn't just a tour, it was a test of altitude. Stadium laughter hits different. Slower to arrive, bigger when it does, punishing if you lose it. Steve found a gear that could hold 20,000 people and still feel like a conversation. He learned the long pause that travels to the cheap seats and returns with interest. He learned to close with a story that leaves the stage warm after he's gone. The success bill kept coming. Flights that blurred time zones, early call times after late sets, family moments missed because the calendar wouldn't bend. He felt the weight without letting it bend the work. On the road, he wrote new tags. In hotel rooms, he outlined cleaner opens. He treated momentum like a loan, pay down principal with craft, pay interest with discipline. By the time the credits rolled on the sitcom years, he wasn't just a comic who could act. He was a host waiting for the right format, a storyteller with gears for small rooms and stadiums, a professional who'd done the unglamorous reps long enough that opportunity couldn't catch him off guard. The taped sentence from a Cleveland wall had become a habit, and the habit had become a career. Success didn't just meet Steve Harvey on stage, it met him on paper. After years of watching people navigate love with crossed signals and low standards, he put his take in ink with Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. The voice was pure Harvey, plain spoken, funny, a little uncomfortable in the best way. It read like a conversation you wish someone had with you sooner. Bookstores moved copies, barbershops and brunch tables argued the chapters. It wasn't a flash, it stuck because the advice sounded lived, not theorized. He followed it with more books that carried the same cadence. Tighten your habits, raise your standards, take responsibility. The audience that once bought tickets now bought playbooks. Hollywood watched the heat map. Think Like a Man jumped to the big screen with the same rhythm that made the book travel. Recognizable types, clean setups, payoffs that felt earned. Opening weekend, it landed like a punchline you didn't see coming and sat at number one. For a comic who'd turned parking lot reps into arena timing, the page-to-screen win proved something else. When you respect structure, formats bend to you. Then came the lane that fit like it was made for him, hosting Family Feud. The format is simple, 2 families, 1 board, a race to the buzzer, but simple doesn't mean easy. Steve changed the temperature without changing the rules. He didn't treat contestants like props, he treated them like cast. He gave a look time to breathe when an answer went off the rails. He used silence like punctuation, then broke it with a line that felt improvisational, but landed with the precision of a written joke. He moved the show faster when energy dipped, slowed it when a face told a better story than any zinger could. That chemistry traveled. Clips started living a second life online. Micro moments you could watch without context, because the reaction did the translation. A raised eyebrow, a double take, a laugh that felt contagious instead of canned. The show stopped feeling like a quiz and started feeling like a hangout where your uncle with the best comebacks was in charge of the buzzer. Ratings didn't creep. They jumped. Advertisers noticed. So did the network. Celebrity Family Feud added a new gear, bigger names, same neighborhood vibe, Steve in the pocket guiding chaos to clean endings. Behind the ease was discipline you don't see. He walks into each taping, reading the room faster than most people read a cue card. He clocks who's nervous, who's trigger happy, who's one prompt away from TV gold. He protects pace, so segments never feel like homework. He'll let a bit stretch only when the payoff earns its keep. Years of clubs taught him how to keep 20 strangers laughing together. Feud asked him to do it with millions. The muscle was ready. Books, film, and Feud all point to the same engine. Steve widens whatever lane he enters. On the page, he turns advice into a conversation. On film, he turns a concept into a crowd pleaser. On the podium, he turns a game show into a shared joke with heart. Different mediums, same craft, clarity, timing, and the nerve to let human moments land without forcing them. Live television is timing plus trust. For years, Steve had both. Then one card, one breath, one name, wrong, and the room inverted. A crown settled where it shouldn't, applause curdled mid-clap, and millions of living rooms felt the jolt in real time. The camera didn't blink, neither did he. He turned, walked back into the brightest heat a stage can make, and said the most expensive sentence in show business. I made a mistake. No hedging, no if, no but. Just ownership. What followed wasn't a 24-hour cycle. It was a loop. The clip replayed until it felt permanent. Late-night monologues, stacked punchlines. Timelines filled with the same 5 seconds from a dozen angles. He woke up the next morning to headlines written like verdicts and a silence at home that buzzed. That's the part audiences don't see. The hum that fills your chest after a public hit. The second-guessing that stalks perfectly ordinary tasks. Reading an email, checking a calendar, trusting your own eyes. He did the unglamorous work first. Reconstruct the moment. Where did the instruction chain bend? How do you stop this from happening again? He learned the new protocol, committed it to muscle memory, and then did the only thing that actually flips a narrative. He went back. The next year, same franchise, same pressure, same countdown in his ear. He walked out calm as if the stage owed him nothing and he owed it composure. On camera, he played it the way a pro plays a scar. Acknowledge, don't wallow, move. A quick nod to the elephant in the room, then back to pacing, names, beats. The audience took the cue. Accountability landed better than any spin ever could. Sponsors prefer predictable professionals. Viewers prefer humans who don't pretend. He made both groups comfortable again by being exactly what the moment required: steady. That episode added a gear he hadn't needed before. He already knew how to turn a stumble inside a bit into a laugh. This taught him how to carry a global stumble without letting it carry him. It sharpened his reads under pressure, tightened his prep, and cooled his pulse when the countdown hit single digits. It also clarified the brand. Not flawless, fearless enough to stand in a mistake and then stand there again until the temperature drops. Careers don't end on a single night. They end when you stop walking toward the light after one. He didn't. He treated the world's loudest laugh as background noise, kept his feet under him, and reminded anyone paying attention that reputations aren't made by the moments you control. They're made by the one you don't and what you do next. Success looks smooth from the seats. Up close, it lurches. The year the talk show ended felt like a trapdoor. No warning you can prepare for, just the thud of a calendar suddenly blank where it used to be busy. Headlines framed it as final. He treated it like a schedule change. Mornings stayed disciplined. Calls kept going out. The mic didn't go silent, it just moved rooms. He pivoted where the audience already lived. New platform, new cadence, same contract with the viewer. Be present, be sharp, be human. The set was different. The engine wasn't. He broke segments down to the muscle. Tight open, clean turn. One line that lingers after the clip ends. If television was a boulevard, he found the service road and kept driving. Then there was the bill no comedian can joke away. Money owed from years that didn't get handled right. It didn't just sit there, it grew teeth. He told it straight. An accounting mess left him staring at a number that would paralyze most people. He did math instead. Morning radio to anchor the day. Meetings stacked, stages at night, books outlined between flights. Every check spoke the same sentence: dig out. He cut lifestyle noise, tightened the circle, and funneled the work toward one outcome: clear the weight so the work could breathe again. Radio became the metronome. 4 hours before sunrise, he built community with a voice that knew when to laugh and when to level with you. That daily muscle kept him sharp when everything else felt in flux. The grind wasn't glamorous. Sleep in slices, meals you can pronounce, workouts that start even when motivation doesn't. He stopped chasing balance and chose order. Do the next necessary thing, then the next one after that. The reputation piece mattered too. It's one thing to be funny when your name is floating. It's another to be reliable when people are betting budgets on you. He showed up early, left late, and treated every shoot like an audition for the next 10. The result wasn't instant, it was cumulative. Opportunities stopped feeling like rescues and started feeling like returns. Dividends on endurance. By the time the noise cooled, he had something sturdier than a slot, a system. Multiple lanes feeding the same craft. If one door closed, 2 windows were already cracked. The lesson was simple and expensive. Momentum is rented, not owned. You pay for it with consistency on the days nobody is clapping. Fame filled arenas. It didn't fill chairs at the dinner table. Steve will tell you the first bill he paid for ambition wasn't money. It was time he couldn't get back. Early years meant missed birthdays, phone calls returned from airport gates, and a kind of absence that success can't excuse. The marriages carried the weight. Love met calendars and calendars won. He learned the hard rule every traveling parent learns. You can bring gifts. You can't bring yesterday. Fatherhood, though, never stopped tugging on his sleeve. I stayed present where he could. School runs when schedules aligned, late-night talks squeezed between sets, quiet apologies that didn't try to rewrite history. He showed up for graduations, for first apartments, for the moments that ask for a witness more than advice. He learned to listen longer than he spoke. He learned that consistency beats grand gestures, and that trust returns a step at a time. And then came the second chance that didn't look like a stage. It looked like a blended table. Marjorie didn't just marry the man. She married the mission of building a home out of 7 distinct stories. The house rules were simple and strict. Respect is non-negotiable. Work comes after family, and everyone brings their best to the room. Titles faded. Step lost its edge. Names became ours. He signed more than checks. He signed up school events, holidays, the ordinary repetitions that build belonging. The most honest proof showed up unscripted. On-air tributes that cracked his voice. Kids who could have kept their distance, choosing instead to speak gratitude where the world could hear it. A father known for jokes, suddenly unable to finish a sentence because love doesn't care about your on-camera composure. Those moments didn't erase old scars. They stitched new skin over them. He also set boundaries, clear, sometimes unpopular. What happens at home stays protected. Public noise doesn't get a seat at the family table. He learned when to make a statement and when to let silence be the statement. When headlines tried to drag private life into the spotlight, he chose the long game. Guard the people, ignore the bait, let time do its editing. The work of repair never ends, but the rhythm changed. Mornings started with voices in the kitchen instead of room service knocks. Nights ended with lights going off in rooms he paid for and hearts he was present for. He still traveled, he came back differently. The same discipline that rebuilt his career, rebuilt his house. Show up, mean it, repeat. In the end, the empire wasn't the estate or the logos. It was a table with enough chairs and a patriarch who finally learned the trick that took the longest: how to be there. An empire looks like headlines and logos from the outside. From the inside, it looks like a calendar. The engine of Steve Harvey's life runs at 6 a.m. with radio, the one lane that forces consistency no matter what the night before looked like. 4 hours of conversation, comedy, and coaching every weekday turns the country into a neighborhood. Radio sharpened what TV later monetized: pace, presence, and the instinct to find the human beat in any story. Television widened the lanes. Family Feud became the anchor tenant, and Celebrity Family Feud added a mezzanine. Same game, bigger chaos, cleaner payoff. He treats each taping day like a season, not an episode. Keep energy high, protect pace, cut the fat, finish with a laugh that sticks. International formats push the brand across borders. Different accents, same laughter frequency. He doesn't translate jokes, he translates humanity. Eye rolls, double takes. The look a parent gives when a kid says the wildest thing on national TV. That plays in any time zone. Business moved beyond the stage. Production, licensing, partnerships. The unglamorous paperwork that turns a name into a platform. He learned how to make a deal feel like a show. Know your audience, build repeatable segments, avoid scope creep, deliver on time. He diversified on purpose. If TV stutters, radio hums. If radio pauses, live events surge. If everything slows, books and brand work keep the gears turning. Redundancy isn't paranoia, it's design. Discipline is the real product. The schedule is tight, the food is boring, the sleep is non-negotiable. He trains because cameras are mean to people who don't. He treats voice like a muscle. Warm-ups before mics, water over shortcuts. He blocks writing time even when the to-do list begs him not to. He doesn't worship balance, he respects order. Do first things first. Put family in ink, not pencil. Guard mornings like money. Say no more than feels polite, and yes, only when you can over-deliver. Style is a choice too. The suits aren't accidents, they're signals. Showing up sharp means showing up serious. The team around him knows the cues. How to set the room, when to clear the hall, when a quiet 5 minutes is worth more than a perfect light. Systems reduce drama. Systems also scale grace. Birthdays remembered, thank yous sent, crew names learned. People work harder for a leader who notices. Legacy isn't an award, it's a habit you hand down. The taped sentence on a bedroom wall became a family rule. Write it, work it, wear the hits without whining. The empire is really a set of repeatable moves. Be early, be excellent, be accountable. The logos might shift, the lanes might change, the craft stays, the discipline stays, and that's what keeps the lights on. Steve Harvey's arc isn't tidy. It's a ripped classroom note, 3 winters in a car, a live TV stumble, then the walk back out. It's ratings rebuilt, mornings on radio, and a table at home finally full. He didn't lower the dream. He raised his discipline until reality caught up. That's the blueprint. Write the promise, keep showing up, own the misses, let consistency speak louder than hype. Before you go, drop your own taped sentence in the comments, the one you'll read morning and night. And before you leave, hit subscribe and turn on the bell to catch our next fast, sourced comeback story the moment it drops.